In a city where music was the currency of the soul and every emotion had its melody, there existed a peculiar silence at the address 47, Harmony Lane. This was the workshop of Caspian Reed, a man who could weave silence into tangible form. Caspian wasn't always a weaver of quiet things. Once, he had been a celebrated composer, his name synonymous with symphonies that could make stones weep. But a neurological condition had gradually stolen his hearing, leaving him in a world of absolute silence. The doctors called it auditory neuropathy. He called it a life sentence. Rather than succumb to despair, he had discovered something extraordinary. In his silence, he found he could hear the residual vibrations of emotions left in objects. A joy-filled laughter left a bright, golden resonance on a chair. A heartbreaking farewell left a deep, indigo echo on a windowsill. And he could weave these emotional residues into intricate tapestries using threads imbued with rare minerals that reacted to emotional energy. His tapestries didn't depict images, they depicted feelings. When someone looked at them, they wouldn't see a picture, but would feel the emotion woven into the fabric, the bittersweet joy of a wedding day, the quiet comfort of an old friendship, the frantic hope of a waiting room. Iris was a music therapist with a rare condition, mirror-touch synesthesia. She didn't just hear music, she physically felt it. A violin's note might feel like silk on her skin, a drumbeat like a gentle punch to the chest, a cello's lament like a cold weight in her stomach. While this made her an exceptionally empathetic therapist, it also made the world unbearably intense. The constant sensory onslaught was slowly draining her, leaving her emotionally raw and seeking shelter in quiet rooms. Her quest for silence led her to Caspian's door. A patient had spoken of a weaver who could capture quiet. Intrigued, Iris had come, seeking refuge from the noisy world. The moment she stepped into his workshop, she felt it, a profound, deep silence. But it wasn't empty. It was a silence full of settled, gentle emotions. She saw his tapestries hanging on the walls and, without touching them, felt their echoes, a soft melancholy from one, a quiet joy from another. "You feel them, don't you?" Caspian's voice was a vibration she felt rather than heard, his lips moving carefully. He had learned to speak by watching the air in people's throats. I feel the silence," Iris whispered, her own voice feeling too loud. "But it's a quiet that sings." He smiled, a rare, genuine gesture. That's the first time someone has understood. Iris began visiting daily. She was his first visitor in years who didn't try to shout or over-enunciate. She learned to communicate with him through a combination of gentle signing, written notes, and, most importantly, by letting him read the emotional resonance she left on objects. He showed her his process. He would take a thread, hold it against an object heavy with emotional history, a child's well-loved toy, a park bench where a proposal happened, and the thread would absorb the color of the feeling. Then he would weave it into his loom. In turn, Iris shared her world. She described music to him not as sound, but as texture, temperature, and pressure. She would play a melody on his arm, her fingers tracing the notes as she described their feel. For the first time since losing his hearing, Caspian experienced music again, through her touch. They began a collaboration, an impossible art project. Iris would find places saturated with a specific emotional sound, the anxious hope in a hospital waiting room, the collective awe in a planetarium. Caspian would weave these complex emotional harmonies into a tapestry. Then Iris had an idea. "We should make one for you," she signed. "A tapestry of your silence." Caspian was hesitant. His own emotions were a tangled, dark skein of grief and acceptance. But he agreed. As he worked on his own tapestry, weaving threads charged with his frustration, his loneliness, his quiet moments of peace, and recently, the new, bright strand of connection with Iris, something shifted in him. Weaving his own silence forced him to confront it, to feel its texture, and ultimately, to make peace with it. Their project caught the attention of the art world. A gallery offered them an exhibition, which they titled The Symphony of Stillness. The centerpiece was Caspian's personal tapestry, a complex work of deep blues, sharp blacks, and surprising, emerging threads of gold and green. On opening night, the gallery was packed. People moved slowly between the tapestries, experiencing the emotional landscapes. Some cried, some smiled. All were deeply moved. The climax came when the city's stern, emotionally reserved mayor stood before Caspian's personal tapestry. As he absorbed the woven journey from despair to quiet hope, a single tear traced down his cheek, a public display of emotion no one had ever seen from him. He immediately announced funding for a new center for deaf artists, with Caspian as its director. In the quiet after the crowd left, Iris and Caspian stood before his tapestry. "You taught me that my silence isn't an absence," Caspian signed, his movements sure and filled with a new confidence. "It's a different kind of space, a space where I can feel what others only hear." Iris took his hands, the contact a gentle, warm pressure. "And you taught me that I don't have to be a passive vessel for every sensation. I can choose what to feel. I can weave my own boundaries." He had given her the gift of selective silence. She had given him the gift of music redefined. Caspian Reed, the weaver of silent songs, and Iris, the woman who felt music on her skin, had discovered that the most profound duets aren't always heard. Sometimes they are woven, thread by thread, in the quiet space between two hearts learning to speak the same silent language. Their love was a tapestry still in progress, its pattern emerging in every shared glance, every gentle touch, every moment of understood silence.